Let's talk about Justin Herbert and the Los Angeles Chargers. Right now, this team is 2-3, and they can still be a playoff team, but does it matter at this point with Brandon Staley still running the show? We've seen the same song and dance for the last couple of seasons, and it hasn't worked out. I don't know why he is still the head coach of this team after you saw what happened against the Jacksonville Jaguars in that playoff game, that whole debacle to where they were up big and they lost in big fashion towards the end of the game. In week 1 against the Miami Dolphins, they lost 36-34. Then they lost against Tennessee Titans 24-27. They beat the Minnesota Vikings 28-24, but they shouldn't have even won that game. Brandon Staley made a dumb decision to go for it on 4th down in their own territory. And if Kirk Cousins thrown an interception, they don't win this game. Then they beat the Las Vegas Raiders 24-17, one of the worst teams in the NFL. And then they lose to the Dallas Cowboys 20-17. Why am I doing an overcap of every single game? All those games have one thing in common. They have lost by 1 score. They have lost by a possession. And they have 9 of those losses since Brandon Staley has been the head coach of this team. It is ridiculous at this point. He's being outcoached. And a lot of it is because of turnovers and interceptions due to Justin Herbert. You can say that because in the 4th quarter in 1 possession games, he has the most turnovers in the NFL. But I'm not putting all this on Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert goes out there behind the offensive line that is relatively always beat up. And if the offensive line is always beat up, he gets pressured in the worst times, in the worst situations. Right now, he is dealing with a finger injury to his non-throwing hand. And a lot of people may say, well, that's not a big deal. It's not his throwing hand. He can't run under center. He has to be in shotgun majority of the time now because that finger is hurt. And we saw what happened last season. He was dealing with rib injury as well. So he's always banged up behind his offensive line that underperforms. And they don't have Corey Linsley right now, who is one of the best centers in the game and is very essential to this Los Angeles Chargers team. But it's more than just the offense here. I understand they have no Mike Williams. Keenan Allen is one of the best wide receivers in the game, and usually those guys are always beat up and banged up. I'm going to get back to the offense in just a second. Brandon Staley was hired to be a defensive guru for this team, and he was a defensive guru with the Los Angeles Rams. That's why he got hired to be the head coach of this team. He coached up a Rams defense that had Jalen Ramsey, Aaron Donald, and Von Miller. That's not hard to do. A lot of guys can coach up that defense to be the best defense in the NFL solely off the talent alone. But right now, the Los Angeles Chargers defense is no good. They're 31st in total defense and 32nd in passing defense. That's dead last in passing defense. And usually you can blame guys like J.C. Jackson. He's blowing coverage. He's not a good corner. They traded him back to the Patriots. He was a bust signing for this team. You're still paying that salary. That's a horrible decision. So now you have to depend on Michael Davis to go out there and guard the number 1 or number 2 wide receiver. He's not a good corner either, and he's not being utilized correctly. You have Asante Samuel Jr., who is a good corner. You have Derwin James, who is a good safety, but it's the way that Brandon Staley uses them. I remember last season when they went against the Kansas City Chiefs, he has Derwin James in one-on-one coverage with Travis Kelce, who has burned you for the entire game. It's the lack of adjustments that hurt this team. And it's going to continue to hurt this team because Brandon Staley is the head coach. They should have fired him after the Jacksonville Jaguars lost in the playoffs, but they held on to him. This is an ownership problem with this team because they are too cheap to go out there and pay an actual head coach and head coaching salary. So until Brandon Staley is no longer the head coach of this team, they're not going to make it far in the playoffs to even come close to the playoffs, in my opinion. They win solely off of talent alone. That's the only reason that they have had some successful seasons underneath Brandon Staley, because Justin Herbert is so good. Keenan Allen is so good. And right now you're going to miss Mike Williams for the rest of the season because he's dealing with a torn ACL. And Joshua Palmer is a good wide receiver to have, but Quentin Johnson so far hasn't been able to show up for this team. He's a first-round pick. And it seems like that was a bad decision. In my opinion, they should have went with Zay Flowers. Now, Johnson can go out and just have a good rest of the season, but so far he's having a tough time getting open, and he can't adjust to the system with Kellen Moore. And that was a first-round pick that could have went towards another wide receiver or towards another defensive player. And I look at their defense. They're too good to be 31st in total defense. The only reason that their running defense is decent is because teams don't even try to run the ball in this defense because they know they can just pass the ball on this defense. And the reason why I'm saying they're too good to be in this situation, you have guys like Derwin James. You have a good pass rusher, Khalil Mack. You have a good pass rusher, Joey Bosa, when he is healthy. They almost let the Raiders come back in the game to where Khalil Mack had 6 sacks in due to the dumb play calling to Brandon Staley. Every Charger fan knows that this man is a terrible head coach, but ownership just wants to keep him there. So we'll see what happens after this season. Like I said, they can still make the NFL playoffs solely off their talent alone, but you're not going to be able to beat some of these top tier teams in the AFC or just in the NFL in general because of the head coach. Games will always be close because of the talent, but when it comes to the coaching, they're not good at all. And Kellen Moore did not have his best day against the Dallas Cowboys. Play calling wise, but Justin Herbert missed a lot of throws in that game. And a lot of it is due to him being injured, but he has connected on some of those throws, especially the throw late to Keenan Allen in the game. Justin Herbert also has to play better, but at the same time, he's always getting pressured. So let me know in the comment section below how you feel about the Chargers. Can they still make the NFL playoffs, or are they just a team that's going to be wasting talent for another year? If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, want each and every last one, guys, stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for watching the video, guys. Peace.